Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Yitz. I am a narcissistic abuse life coach. Today I'll be discussing self-destruction versus self-transcendence. Self-transcendence is defined as overcoming the limits of the individual self and its desires in spiritual contemplation and realization. Self-destruction is described as the behavior that causes serious harm to oneself. According to Abraham Maslow and the hierarchy of needs, self-actualization and self-transcendence is the highest and most important existential need that a human being can have. Some would say that this is the core, most important need of the human condition. Many people struggle with transcending their personal egoic sense of self, and in an attempt to do so, they end up causing self-harm and self-destruction. Self-transcendence and self-actualization are mature ventures. Children obviously are not responsible for their self-actualization. The parents or the guardian, whoever's around, should kind of nurture them in the direction of learning some skills, learning life skills, so they can ultimately self-actualize on their own. Children, for the most part, are concerned with the survival, with basic needs, sort of the lower level Maslow's hierarchy of needs of food, shelter, clothing, safety, and security. As one grows up and matures, they will look for higher order pursuits and more mature pursuits to really find self-satisfaction and life fulfillment. These include looking for intimate partnerships, connecting in friendships, prestige, accomplishments, and achieving one's full potential. Self-actualization and growth and reaching one's full potential spiritually and emotionally oftentimes require conflict, chaos, and breakdowns to really force a person to evolve out of their comfort zone and into their growth zone. Many people would refer to this as the dark night of the soul, where a person is kind of forced to break down the illusions of what they believed about life, about who they were, and ultimately venture on a spiritual journey of self-awareness and self-actualization. This is where shadow work is done. This is where real extreme self-reflection and, like I said, self-awareness, life lessons are learned in this place. A person learns about the vastness of their existence, really who they are on a soul level. They explore the depths of who they are, and they really develop a true appreciation for the human condition, usually develops a sense of sensitivity, humility, to the fact that they are really a small being with such a massive, vast universe inside of us. Self-actualization and self-transcendence demand that a person look at their immediate surroundings and realize that a lot of what they see is stemming from within. And really, this journey is a journey within. Self-actualization is a journey within to comprehend yourself and understand your connection to source, to higher power. So the joy, the bliss, the happiness, and fulfillment that come out of these conflicts, that come out of the chaos, that come with growth, are extremely fulfilling and really eternally rewarding. And this is at the core of who we are. This is really the feelings, the experiences we crave so much. And many times people are willing to give up everything just to transcend the self and just to explore the spiritual realms and really understand who they are on a soul level. So self-destruction occurs when a person is out of touch with who they truly are. Their core sense of self has been disconnected from them, and when this happens, they're not able to stay grounded. They lose touch, essentially, and they forget about their bodily and physical existence. And this is where you see an addict, for example, as somebody who gets spiritually high and really reaches great heights, but ultimately when the high wears off, when the drug of choice wears off, the person comes crashing down. And in many instances, they fall way below they were originally because they're not actually evolving. They're not reaching high spiritual heights. They're kind of cheating and escaping into the spiritual realms, and again, disconnecting from their authentic being, from their earthly dimension. So self-destruction happens when a person feels badly about themselves and doesn't want to really be in their body necessarily. They perhaps have shame, guilt, abuse that cause them to feel badly about who they are. So they're going to want to escape into the spiritual realms and kind of get high. That really is what addiction is, but what ends up happening is that the person destructs, like I mentioned. There's a popular saying by Vince Flynn that says, if you're not busy living, then you are busy dying. And I think this is what it refers to, is that if you're not evolving, if you're not growing, if you're not self-actualizing, you're literally decomposing, you're dying, because we are meant to be growing. And it's like a tree. If it's not actually growing, a plant, whatever, if it's not growing, it is deconstructing, it is dying by definition. Not engaging in self-actualization is much like a slow death, and it has similarities to an addict, but perhaps it's not as quickly. The self-destruction doesn't happen as quickly, but if you decide to not evolve in life, then really you're cutting the cords on your life source. The force that lives through you, that grows through you, is cut off by the decision to not evolve and become more of what you were. So narcissistic abusers are actually disconnected from their sense of self. So they actually have chosen self-destruction at the core. They are metaphorically committing, they're actually literally committing suicide in a sort of roundabout way. And much like an addict, they are just going to slowly self-destruct because they're not authentically connected to source, and therefore they don't have any life force. And by definition, that is death. And really what they're trying to do is pull other people down with them as they destroy themselves, and kind of use them to keep them high on this addiction, but ultimately it ends in self-destruction and really spiritual, emotional, and psychological, and even physical at times, death. I compare self-actualization to having wings, and when you have healthy wings, when you have been nurtured, when you are, again, authentically aligned with your core self, you're able to fly high. If you're abused and you have shame, guilt, you've been manipulated and hurt, then you have crippled wings. In many instances, your wings have been cut off completely, and therefore you're not able to soar in the spiritual dimensions. So abuse victims have these crippled wings, and they are never given the space, the safe space, the safety in childhood, the attunement, the mirroring in childhood, to help develop those wings and that sense of self in order to fly high. They usually have dysfunctional, toxic, and destructive ways of coping with life, and ultimately they kind of destroy themselves because, again, they're trying to fly without healthy wings. It ends up becoming metaphorically self-destructive. So for those who have been wounded, it's about healing these metaphorical wings by understanding how you were wounded, understanding your wounds of childhood, your attachments to mom and dad, and early childhood primary caregivers, and restoring those wings so you can really be at peace with yourself, inner peace, and fly and grow to the dimension, to your full potential, and therefore really become who you were meant to be. This is really what is fulfilling. This is what life is all about. Life is all about becoming who you were meant to be and evolving constantly. So that being said, if you are struggling, if you've been wounded and you're struggling to self-actualize and self-transcend, you find yourself in self-sabotaging, self-destructive tendencies, please do reach out. I work with many patients to help them identify their wounds of childhood and help them heal so they can ultimately become their fullest, highest, most healthy and authentic version of themselves. I'm going to leave my contact information below. Feel free to reach out for a free 15-minute consultation to discuss how I can help you on your healing journey. I want to thank you so much for listening to this video. It's an absolute honor to bring you this information. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please don't forget to do so. Feel free to like it and share it to anyone who might appreciate this video. Thank you again for listening, and until next time, take care of yourselves.